Welcome everyone to Roguelikes You Should Know, Episode 2, RYSK, Episode 2. We are obviously talking about Into the Breach today. A personal favorite game of mine, actually, here. It's great. Right now it's just me here in the chat, SkipMcLazy in the chat here. We may have some other people joining us a little bit later. We'll have to just see. But, yeah, we're going to talk about the game, talk about speedrunning the game. We'll talk about kind of overall strategy and some of the interesting things, the interesting mechanics, so to speak, of the game. Yeah. So if you're stopping by, obviously feel free to ask questions in the chat or just later on YouTube. Feel free to chat down below if you have any questions or things we don't cover and would like to know. Please feel free to ask. We'll be certain to try and answer them, but meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you're not familiar with it, the game is basically the story, so to speak, of Into the Breach. As you can see, you're starting off looking at a desolated, destroyed Earth. The Vek, an alien species or something. I don't really get into exactly the pieces of that on the lore about that. Tied with Dead Cells will be the last episode on Best Games of 2018. I would have to agree with that. Absolutely. Effectively, you're looking at a destroyed timeline. So the human race came up with an idea, which was to send pilots in powered mechs back in various timelines to come back and actually rescue various timelines of the past to keep them all from the different parallel timelines from having the same fate that the main timeline has. Something like that. It's an idea of saving the future by saving the past. And it's a roguelike, so the mechanic of that being that if you fail or abandon mission, you just go back and you're able to just, well, let's just try again on a completely different one. You know, you just keep trying different things. So we'll go ahead and we'll start off a new game. We'll start off with where everyone starts. Where everybody starts off with. Actually, let me go back. We'll flip to. Actually, I can't. All my profiles are eaten up right now. Although I can get rid of learning is fun. We'll create a new profile. We'll call this one RYSK. We don't need tutorial tips. We'll create it. Start a new game. Where you start off is you start off completely with, you know, Vec threat. Destroyable, mission was failed. You have a failed Earth. Open a breach, says Ralph. Let's go save another timeline. Time to go back to the past and try and save it again. So you start off with these combat mechs. You eventually open up different pilots, different time travelers. You've got all kinds of different people here to unlock. And different squads you get to unlock as well. You get these by actually getting achievements, which give you coins, which you can then use to unlock the different squads. And there's overall things such as, you know, beating the game, beating it with different islands. You'll see what that means in a second. There's things like, you know, rescuing 100,000 civilians, different challenge runs like don't power a weapon modification. So it's a strategy where within the run itself, you'll be leveling up the actual individual pieces of it, which actually is fun. There's also individual things like, you know, dropping enemies in water, dashing, etc. So we're actually going to run through real quick. We'll be in hard mode just to show you kind of the basics of the top end strategy of the game. I'd highly recommend the first few times you play through it, play through easy or normal even is fine. I think I played through on normal at first, but if you're really struggling to win, drop down to easy just to get some of the mechanics of it, and then go back. If you're familiar with FTL, which is another one of Subset Games' games, you'll know that the achievements and unlocking of achievements is the thing. One thing that they changed that some people from FTL to Into the Breach actually really liked was the fact that in Into the Breach, if you unlock something on easy mode, it doesn't like tag it with unlocked during easy mode and then unlocked during hard mode, etc. It just says that you've unlocked it. I actually don't like that because then, you know, you actually have to make a conscious decision to go in and specifically, you know, make a new file to unlock things again just in hard, which is what most people who are really serious about the game end up doing. But anyway, so here you see you've got the archive head office. This is the first island you go to. If you're not from the future, you'll find our island. If you are from the future, you'll find our island is even further back in time than you expected. If not for the VEC, I'd have loved to give you a tour of the old Earth relics. So he's trying to actually save, basically, he's the historian of the group. And you're trying to save Archive Inc. as the first island. Each island has a different shape, and you'll start in kind of random places. You'll have this corporate HQ, which will be the final mission of each island. You'll go through playing different missions. You'll have 4 regions that you'll have to play on each board. And what you're trying to do is both, well, clear the region successfully of the VEC over 4 to 5 turns, and then earn reputation. You see there's bonus objectives with each region. This one has defending the tanks. This is protecting the clinic. And you earn those stars or reputation that then can be used to upgrade once you defeat an island. Yes, I absolutely agree with you, R30, and that's actually the thing. That's actually what I did. I went back. My hard mode file was a challenge to myself to actually unlock every single achievement or piece of the game just in hard mode, because it's a fun way of challenging yourself, which I went back and actually I did the same thing as well. So anyways, from a mechanic perspective, you definitely want to try, if you're, I mean, this is not, there is a whole tutorial series that actually I had recorded over on my YouTube channel, which goes through the strategy of what to do. We'll just go in through here and kind of talk through the basics of what's actually happening in the game. So you're deploying your mechs, and as VEC are coming, they'll show you their intent, they'll show you their turns, and then it's your turn to act. So it's very much turn-based strategy, akin to knowing exactly what's going to happen. In fact, knowing what's going to happen in what order allows you to completely plan out your moves while paying attention to not only not losing grid, because your power grid here goes all the way to 0 and you lose, but also around, getting the bonus objectives. Got to defend both of these tanks. I need to, sometimes it's blocking VEC spawning a number of times. There's lots of different ways of skinning this cat, so to speak. So that's the basics of what really needs to, you just need to, I can't get over there. We'll just do this. So it's a lot of moving VEC around, positioning them in the right places. When it's their turn, they get to act, more VEC spawn, they'll show you their intents, and we do this over again. So if you like the idea of a strategy game, we're really figuring out the most optimized way of attacking and defending, etc., then hey, look no further, this game is for you. In this specific one here, like, what I could do, one move here is move this, guy over 1. He'll then be attacking, but his attack deals 1 damage, means this guy would then be able to attack and destroy this tank still, so not great. Also got this guy over here who has no damage done to him yet, who's going to be taking out a grid. Also, not great. What we can do, however, is do things where we can not only move guys around, but bump them into each other, because then they'll do bump damage. There's lots of ways of making it so that, I'm just going to move that guy around again. Lots of ways to victory, sometimes not lots of ways, but there are lots of things to think about and ways that you can actually go about affecting a good turn. Yes. The movement with this guy especially teaches you something vital, and actually this tanks mission actually teaches you the same thing as well. Moving guys around, as R3 was saying, is probably the most valuable thing that you can actually learn that when playing the game. What I'm actually going to do, you're attacking 1 there. Let's just, if I do that, that will actually destroy you. I want to do what now? I could do this, just knock you away like that, which would then have you attacking there, which is, again, not great, but we can tank some damage. That's not a big deal. So now let's see here. You've actually already shot 1, which means, not the most ideal movement I've ever done. Look at that. And I was talking too much. We're going to reset turn. So you always have a way to do a phase where you can go back and reset a turn. I'm trying to figure out the best move possible here, because I've got a lot of guys moving stuff around. What we're actually going to do is we're just going to get the webbing off of my tank. Alright, by moving that guy here. That will allow me to move around here and do a little bit of damage to both of these guys, which means I can come here now and do this. So now this guy's blocking Vec spawning, but he also is down to 1 HP, which means that when the Vec comes up and hits him, it will actually take him out, which is exactly what I wanted to do. You're going to be taking damage there. You also haven't moved yet, so that means no reason for you to tank any damage. In fact, let's just do this. Hit them into each other. Have a pretty successful turn. Yeah, moving guys around is probably the #1 thing you can learn how to do to be successful at the game. There are a couple of other squad types that are, for lack of a better word, not as, you don't really need to spend as much time moving guys around. Problem with those, though, is that you forget, like, if you notice there, most of that was based upon movement. This was moving this guy into that guy, which caused damage here, which this guy's at 3, bringing him down to 1, which is enough damage for me to use my prime mech here to punch and take him out, because he's down to 2. And then I use the bump damage from this guy sitting here to take my alpha out by pushing him over. So then, yeah, you clear that region. Now you get other regions to come through. You see some have got things like, you know, the little lightning bolts. That's actually will refill my grid power, or if it's full, will bump my grid defense up by +2% if I overpower it. There's also the air support. Warning, that's an environmental effect. Good for anything other than speedruns, really. If you're doing a speedrun, you really don't want to have that in there. Slows you down significantly if you've ever watched a speedrun of this. But do not kill the volatile Vec. That's kind of an interesting one. I mean, there's really only a few mechanics in each game. Is all the different enemy types. That as we just kind of play through, you'll see the different enemy types, the different level maps, and specifically what changes it up is the fact that as you unlock different squads, you then have the ability to have, you know, completely different playstyles going on. Now, one thing I like about this right here is that, so I picked up the time pot. I can push this guy over into the place that's destroying all the things, and I effectively let's just push you into the water. There we go. I'm able to take him out even though I didn't take him out. Didn't take him out directly. But most of the times when you look up here, you'll notice that the attack order, you notice environmental damage always goes first. It's always fun. So this environment will take that guy out, so I'm going to leave him in place. I'm not even going to mess with him at all. What we are going to do is we are going to do a little bit of damage to you. Whoops. Undo that move. There we go. Yep. You know what? I read there. Of course, I think you're referring to the article, fairly recent article about the developers. R30 is making a point here. It's something that if he doesn't jump into chat, the game's design is pared down to the essentials. There was a recent article that was out. If I can find it, I'll be sure to pop it into chat. When they were first designing this game, they designed a lot of things into this game. They really, really did. They kind of went all in with all the different, you know, different possible elements of the game, different ways of. There were a lot of different things to keep track of around the different places that you went, and the movement around the game. Sort of, you think of like, you know, FTL, sort of the more effective grid movement around, and other things like that. And it just wasn't making for a fun gameplay. Effectively, if you watch a couple rounds of Into the Breach, even though, yes, the squad that you take can change, sure. Or, let's say, the, trying to think here for a second, hang on. Thinking is hard. I didn't want to do that. I don't want to do that because it's going to do the thing with the thing. Let's reset this turn. Let's think about this first. We want to heal you up. No. That was bad. You know what? It's fine. We're going to tank some... We're going to lose a little bit of damage there. I messed that one up badly. I really, really did. Messed that one up badly. But I already reset, so okay. But if you've watched Into the Breach, even though the squads themselves will change, which gives you different combat styles, the mechanics of the game is really over really, really fast. Yes, they're GDC talk. That's exactly what I'm referring to. Yeah, if you can post that in chat. Hang on. Yeah, it's probably a link. You're not allowed to do it. Let me, real quick, permit. There, go for it. Now you'll be able to post that in there. Got a reactor core. So yeah, that's, you know, different things that happen. Now, here's some of the upgrades stuff. Obviously, there's a second weapon area that eventually you'll get weapons, etc. And so you'll be able to drop in different upgrades. I'm just going to go for movement right now. I'm going to go for movement with here because I eventually want to get this Taurus cannon with more damage. So for now, we'll just give you more movement. We'll give you the core, more movement. Artillery support, sure, we'll grab that. Ooh, another power available here, too. Okay, we'll give you more movement as well. So he leveled up. That's why I got the additional core above and beyond what I had before. Okay. Yes, Yagan, I'm glad you're able to watch the marathon run earlier. Thank you. Still not working. I think your time ran out. All right, if you sent me the link, I'll be able to post it in chat. Or if you sent it to me in, I won't get it if you whispered it to me because I'm not actually in Twitch directly. Drop it on Discord and I will see it though. If you drop it, I'll permit you again. In fact, let's just do this. Hang on. Just do mod R30. There we go. Now you can post the link. Now that you're a mod. Now what do we want to do here? Similar layout as last time, actually. So, we can push you back over here. And we can use our extra dude to do that. Let's push you in the water. We'll push you in the water. There we go. Success, right? Success. And you can get down the block back spawning. Do that. We'll have you heal up. Everyone's done. So there's the article. Yeah, definitely pull that one up. For anyone watching on YouTube, I will post the GDC Vault link in the comments. Take a look at that, but I'll wait for R30 to be able to hop in a little bit later here in the episode. Get his kind of take on it, because I know we've both spent a fair amount of time kind of discussing all of that. So what I want to do here is, let's see, I can first get rid of the thing with the... yeah, let's do this. We'll get rid of you, we'll come here, we'll fire you. Using your own mechs to tank damage is a very successful way of doing things. And get down to 1 because environmental fire will take you out the rest of the way. I really enjoy using my own mechs as a movable wall to bump people into. It's a great way of getting additional damage. It really is. There we go, Watery Grave. That was drown 3 enemies in waterness. So I'm slowly getting my achievements down here. For, oh, that's right, I got this guy. Yeah. Everybody's good. So you're clearing each... We haven't got any additional pilots yet to actually show you what that's like. Get one more here. We're going to destroy the damn tidal waves. So tidal waves in the train mission, I'm not going to show you because I really want to go after as much reputation as possible. Let's put you there. They're sure every mission, but a few select few is victory in 5 turns. The tidal waves, the train, and on the next island there's a cataclysm. Those are specifically. Unfortunately, these guys are not lining up correctly. All right, let's see here. What can we do? I suppose the answer is that we're not going to drown everybody right now. Just gonna make sure nobody's gonna be hitting the buildings. So if I'm looking at this game from the perspective of why is this a roguelike, you should know, as the title says, right? Reason for that is that it really fits well into a couple of good genres, so to speak. And not genre. It takes care of a couple of things within the genre specifically. I want to do this. You're down to 1 HP. There we go. So let's look at kind of the first thing about a roguelike being permadeath. And you have these pilots here, right? You got Ralph and 2 other guys who are randomly assigned. You've got Ralph being your named pilot you start with. You can get other named pilots as well throughout a mission. Those time pods that show up. If they die, well, you'll lose your use of your mech during that battle. And then, other than that specifically, you will lose your ability to... you'll lose that pilot just completely. Hang on here. Notice I got a message. Let's take a look at what that is real quick. Oh, there's the link. Got it. Just someone hint. But, and then from that point forward, while you won't have access to... This is a bad thing. This is a bad thing. You did a bad thing. I'm going to have to do a little bit of damage. You resisted. Thank goodness. So now we're going to do this. Oh, wait. Oh, I did a... Nope. I did a dumb. How that one's going to work is like this. Still going to give me the resistance. I knew that would be there. You're going to go... You can't go there. Can you go there? You can go there. Give me the bump damage I'm looking for. Bump damage. That's the way to roll. So, and then if you rip the run, you have to start over again on a different timeline. And I like how they actually built that into the game. It's not just, oh, play the game over again. It's, nope, that timeline is lost. And you didn't save all of those citizens of that timeline. You have to go back and start over again. Yes, I would love... I've semi-understood the deterministic resets, so we'll save that for when you're on as well, R30. What I did right there where I knew I had a resist, so if I did the reset, I got the same resist, or I knew that attack would not the next time deal damage, or I would have been kicking myself for messing that one up. We're going to get buildings immune so that we're not in that situation again next time, though. So after 4 regions are done, you're actually going in then and doing the corporate HQ mission. And this one you always have to defeat a leader, which is a little bit more stronger than an alpha, and then as one of your objectives, and protecting the corporate tower. That's always what you have for your bonus objectives on a corporate mission. That never changes. At least for the current version. I have heard possibilities someday that'll change, but as of right now, no, that's where we're at. So now I can do this without fear of... Oh, except... I wanted you to get out of the way, though. I want to be able to get over here. I want to do that. Okay. Blocking Vex spawning. And so, anyway, back to what I was saying about permadeath, right? The game actually, you will start over. You can do a new run, etc. The things you unlock are the squads. So you can play as a different squad and the pilots. And if you win the game, the experience on one of your pilots can be saved and roll over to next time. So you can have an experienced pilot who can go with you throughout different timelines. In fact, if you lose, the pilot themselves still does escape, so that doesn't change. Yeah, it's you are gonna kill him. That's perfect. Now let's see. I want to bump you into the fire. Actually, is there a way I can do that without setting myself on fire? Yeah, let's go. Let's go here. We can then set yourself on fire. Cool. So there is that sense of permadeath, yet a little bit of the, as you play the game, there are some things you unlock, some etc. All of the weapons, though, are fully unlocked at the start of the game. It's not like, say, Binding of Isaac, where as you're playing the game, you're going to unlock certain weapons to then be available to you. It doesn't have that type of a thing in it. You're dead, because your fire is going to destroy you. We're going to move you over here. We're going to come here, bump you that direction. And that will completely take you out, which I think I'm actually fine with doing. And I'll take a little damage here. So I like the fact that, you know, you don't have to play the game in order to get all of the possible fun items of the game to play with. You don't have any of that, which is nice, which is really nice. So, let's see. I want to come here, bump, take you out, put you into the fire, and then we'll do one more damage to you, and you'll be done. Alright, clean sweep of everybody. That's all we could hope for, right? All we could hope for. So that's one piece. The other is, you know, if you think about what makes a roguelike, some would say, although I disagree, hey, island secure, hooray. And perfect island, that's pretty great. So you get a perfect island and you actually get a little bonus reward. You get to pick between a weapon, another pilot, which we could grab. I don't actually like playing with Herald. Enemies do +1 damage against other enemies. I actually like that a lot. That hormones is really nice. If I grabbed the other one, I believe I would have gotten the pilot as a possibility. It's always good to grab the pilots if you're trying to unlock things, but we're not. We are not trying to do that. Oh, cryo launcher. Ooh. I always like grabbing cryo launcher. R30, was that you? Do I hear you hop into the chat?
I did jump in, yes, if that's okay.
Oh, totally okay. Let me check your audio. Go ahead and do a quick audio check mid-episode.
Sorry about that. Hopefully the audio should still be similar from
Oh yeah, we're still
week's.
good. We're still good. I had to turn you up just a little bit. You were a little bit quiet last time, so I'll fix that this time.
I actually wanted to, with that cryo launcher, I actually wanted to make a comment about that as something from the game development. One of the nice things with the Into the Breach Discord is actually have a few people in there that did the beta testing for the game. They actually at one point had an upgrade for the cryo launcher that didn't freeze your own mech. As it stands right now, for those that aren't aware, the cryo launcher, when it fires, and it freezes a Vec, which effectively removes it from play unless it gets broken out. But it also freezes your own mech.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a risk and reward sort of thing, because, well, if your mech's seized up in ice, it's not going to be able to do anything.
Right, yeah. I actually really... Ice is one of my favorite things to play with, especially when you... It makes a fun challenge when you have that. I'm actually going to grab it right now, believe it or not, just to show. May as well. Ice is one of the things that many people say shouldn't be allowed in the game because it's too powerful. But I disagree. I think because of the fact that, as you can see here, when you fire, it freezes yourself, and then you have to either heal yourself out or get damaged, quote-unquote, in some way. I think that makes it a weapon that makes a fun strategy. Now, if you have Bethany or Mafan, It's completely overpowered. I mean, there's no question about that. Cryo launcher with those is just, it's crazy. It's crazily stupid and broken.
I think that's the point where people kind of draw the line with, is it too powerful or is it not powerful? And it's the synergy of using a shield to block that ice from attaching to the mech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree there. Let's see here. Let's take that movement off. I'm just trying to grab my upgrades here.
But on that note, that is something that is a sign of a good roguelike in a way, is those different synergies that you see as you play through the game. I mean, we can see the same thing with Dead Cells from last week, where some equipment synergizes with other equipment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, situationally overpowered. Great way of putting it. Yeah, exactly. And there's certainly some things as you're doing a run. Like, for example, I had grabbed this Vec Hormones. With Rift Walkers, that's actually a really good thing because you spend a lot of time moving. As you saw on that last island, you spend a lot of time moving Vec around. And so making it so that their bump damage does +1 is really nice. If you play with someone, say, like Zenith Guard, where you're really not ever going to move Vec around at all, you're just going to brute force take them out, this is a completely worthless upgrade to have. So, now that I defeated one island, I now get to move over to RST Corporation, and this is Jessica. It's interesting she's on the second island because Jessica's the person who's always on the final island, as we'll see. It's like she's the main boss, but you don't really see her until the second island? I don't know. So here's a question for you, R30. Do you know, was there ever a thought to have the other heads of the different islands be more involved in, like, the final island or different parts based upon which islands you had gone to? Had you heard? I had heard rumors about that, but I wasn't sure if it was true.
To be fair, I don't think that Subset Games has actually ever outright said that. That's actually such a good question that I might toss that over to on the Discord, at the Into the Breach Discord, and see if there's anybody over, any of the beta testers there that know. My intuition is probably not, but I'd be surprised to see if that is the case or not.
It seems like something that to me is something that the game feels like, especially when you get to the final island, if you're just watching the game for the first time here, it feels like that's what the game was meant to do. That based upon which islands you'd gone to, which ones were basically in play for that final island, the different people you talk to, or even the different things they would send for support, or I don't know. It feels like it should change. And so that's, I don't know. That's at least the feeling that I've gotten. And I'm left with a really terrible puzzle right here.
That's actually one other good thing about Into the Breach. One is that the UI is really good, and it lets people that watch the stream can kind of indicate, oh, you should go from this tile to that tile. And in a sense, it's really good for backseat gaming.
Exactly. It's wonderful to play when you're with people who want to get the help, and so you sit in their streams and you go, oh, check out, D4, if you target that square with this, and sometimes that's just enough for the person to, oh yeah, that's right, I see it now, that's a good solution, Like what I'm thinking through right now is I've got this guy next to water. He's an easy dunk. Doing that, though, I'd have to, I have to be careful because this alpha is going to hit for 3. I can't tank damage with any of my guys right now or I'll lose them. So that's out. And so I need to move him some direction. Now I could also move this guy to the left from D3 to C3, especially because he will attack before this Hornet, so he will effectively take him out. However, right now when a Vec dies because of this Scion, they'll explode, dealing damage to my train that I don't want to damage right now, which is annoying.
Yeah, explosions.
Explodey Scions. Gotta love them. Now, fortunately, I can get over and take out the Explodey Scion, but then I waste my Prime. And the question is, sometimes, and this is something that it depends upon who you talk to. There are some people who are very much save the civilians at all costs. There are other people who are like perfect islands, quote unquote, aka doing all the bonus objectives or nothing. So for me, I've always thought, just from a beating the game perspective, if you're left with a worst case scenario, I can either lose an objective, lose a mech, or lose some civilians. I'm going to lose some civilians so long as I have enough to spare.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the big things when Subset were kind of developing the game. They spent a lot of time doing the UI, but they also spent time trying to figure out, well, how do you make it so that the players care about the civilians? And the decision there was, well, tie it to health. Because players care about health.
Exactly.
And that's the other big thing, is that the only way you can lose a game of Into the Breach is if you take too much damage to buildings that your power grid drops to 0. You can lose mechs, you can lose pilots, heck, you can even lose entire regions if you lose all of your mechs in the course of a round. But if your power grid's still open, it's not a completely hopeless situation. You're going to be hurting, but...
Now here's something that I really like. I actually found a solution, as you can see here, where that will, based upon turn damage, actually, based upon the attack turn order, which is, you know, the pro strats no beginners ever think about. There was actually a solution to that with no grid damage, no mech damage, and civilian, and everything's in order. Most of the time, there's a solution. You just have to find it. Most of the time. It's not always, but it's most of the time. And when there's not, it's how can I minimize the damage so I'm taking one grid and not chaining it into a whole disaster by getting my mechs completely out of position. By out of position, I mean having all your mechs over here or over in this corner huddled up together for some reason.
Another sign of a good roguelike, in a sense, is that good, strong play is rewarded, whereas it's easy to snowball in both directions, in that sense.
Correct. And I didn't make an optimal play here, but I'm going to do my best with what I got. No, I don't like that at all, actually, because you're going to bump him off. No, I don't like that at all. We're going to reset. You get one reset per round. And I didn't like the way that was going. I had meant to do this first. I meant to move my tank over to the other side. Because I went and had done this attack first, it blocked the ability of my tank to get to the other side of that guy. Actually, I still did exactly the same thing, didn't I? I did, didn't I? I made the exact same mistake. It's okay. Well, now we're stuck with it, so. Prime Mech move B3 to B2. Yeah, well, it's not bad. It just means that I'm not going to be blocking any Vex spawning this last turn. There's no ripping here. Hey, we got a field promotion. I believe that was have a pilot reach maximum level. Yes, it is.
Rhinovec. That's a good name for a beetle mech there, dog.
I never thought, yes.
I love that.
They each have different names. Yeah, this is a beetle mech. But Rhino Mech, I believe, is just recommended in chat. Much better.
Rhinoceros beetle. I just made that connection.
I had never thought of it either. I feel so silly for not ever catching that.
Okay. That's already, I've learned something new today. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't planning on learning something new, but I completely did. That's really great. It is a rhinoceros beetle. It's the beetle. Oh, boy, that's funny. What you gonna do? So I'd love for you to talk, R30, if you could. Talk a little bit about that article you posted to that GDC Vault article about them stripping down the game. Because
it's actually a great GDC talk where they're actually discussing how their game shifted over the course of development. They did something very similar when they ended up doing the. They did something very similar with FTL when about a year after that released. Let me find, because I don't want to have to listen to two different things at once here and try to parse everything. I'm going to bring up what the slides were for that.
I think that the part that I appreciated was them effectively saying we just couldn't do everything. So we just stripped down and just did the things that made sense. Or that made the game great.
Exactly, because at one point with Into the Breach, they were thinking of something similar to the board game Pandemic, where you'd have this large board, and the Vec would actually, like a large overworld map, where the Vec would actually like creep across the map in a sense, which was a cool idea, but it didn't fit the game for what they were aiming for. And there's also the idea of them there was also a lot of different weapon variations that they were working on at one point. They'll note that every single attack in the game, except for a select few, and whether it's Vec attacks, mech attacks, or otherwise, they are all fairly simple. They only do in the cardinal directions, north, south, east, or west. They are simple, easy to kind of show on the map. Okay, this is what the attack is doing. And at one point, they had designs that was just much more complicated, much more, I guess, complex for complexity's sake, almost, it seemed.
Absolutely. Like, I look at this where I'm pausing the map right now. You understand by looking at this what everybody's doing. This alpha here, for some reason, is standing around doing nothing because he's bored. But you can clearly see, okay, this arcing arrow shows me the direction of that. In fact, I mouse over it, I get more detail even. So it makes it super easy to understand exactly what's happening. And even with the symbols of when he attacks, he's going to be removing that 1 blinking HP. When he attacks, he's going to be removing 3 of the now 5 because Ralph leveled up and got more HP. Thank you very much. And so it's easy to understand, as opposed to trying to have a glossary of symbols to understand what the heck is going on, which would have really destroyed the game if it would not have been successful.
And this elegant of a design for the UI, this is what took most of the development time for them. It took them 4 years to make Into the Breach, and about half of it was the UI, and it shows so beautifully how well everything fits together.
Didn't think about this last attack here, did I? No, I did not. We got building immune. We're okay. Speaking of out of position, I'm out of position right now. Fortunately, on this board, it's actually okay to be out of position. There's not much that they can really do.
I'll be right back.
All right, no worries. Crisis averted rare, right? Again, bump damage being the #1 greatest killer of Vec, if you ask me. So the game, when the first time you're playing through it as well, and I had skipped the optional tutorial section, but there is a way to actually go where it actually teaches you the basics of kind of what's happening. So if you take that combined with a really easy to use UI, gotta love it's, you didn't have to have a ton of... I've totally forgotten that I have the cryo launcher. Oh man, I've got to start using that. I've got the cryo launcher, and I'm not even using it. That's pretty funny.
To make a small joke, another good sign of a good roguelike. You get the tools that you have at your disposal.
Completely forgetting. Sort of like the first time I was ever playing through Enter the Gungeon, and someone told me, use your active item. Like, what's an active item? They're like, oh my gosh, the thing sitting in your toolbar, it's right there. Oh, I had no idea it was something I could use. So the thing, about cryo launcher is, and I will probably use it later. I'm not going to use it this first turn. What I'm wanting to do, do I want to do? It's a good question. What's my turn order? Oh, you do 3 damage. That will not take him out. Skip, use your secondaries. Yeah, seriously. Well, that was like last time. We're using my secondaries within Dead Cells as well. The same exact problem I had going on. Couldn't remember to do that. Oh, for the life of me. I think what we're going to do, we are going to use... No, we're not. This guy has 2. thinking this one through pretty hard. I don't really need to. What we're going to do is this. We're going to move you over so you block back spawning, etc. We'll then come here, take you out, and then we're just going to push you off the cliff. Alright. Hopefully we'll get to use a cryo launcher next time. Because the thing you want to do is you want to use the cryo launcher in a way where then you're going to be taking damage on the next turn, which is not something I can actually accomplish right now. But we're still going to use the cryo launcher. So as you can see there, I've now frozen myself. Which means I'm actually in quite a pickle right now, because the only thing I can do here is heal myself awake. Which is great. But it means that guy is not able to be used this time, meaning we're taking a heck of a lot of damage from somebody.
And that right there is the whole downside to the cryo launcher.
If you're not careful with it, exactly.
And Dog One is open in the chat made a very good point there that you have you have a limited number of actions per turn. And if there's more Vec on the board than you have actions, you kind of start to struggle.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. So now one thing I can do is use my cryo launcher like this, so that I'll both be blocking and yeah, I will be taking 1 damage on that guy, but he's not going out. So what I'm trying to do is make it so that I am actually just fine, believe it or not. I only lost 1 grid. Still got all the objectives. I didn't kill enough enemies, though. Ah, so I did not get the perfect. Because I was freezing everyone, I didn't get the bonus objectives. And that is legitimately the time that I fail an island. It's almost always this objective. I just forget about it. I forget that it's there. I'm using cryo launcher or something else like that, where I'm moving guys around, and we're toast. We don't get the perfect.
Mine tends to be blocking Vex spawns.
My playstyle, I tend to block Vex spawning. So it tends to not be an issue for me. We're going to go ahead and up the power of the cannon here. The power of the cannon. Cataclysm I like, but it doesn't give me enough. Destroy 2 mountains. This one's brutal. And kill 7 enemies. Well, we've already lost the perfect. Let's just go all in, right? The ideal way to use the cryo launcher is to park your keister on top of a Vex spawn point and then use it.
Or in the line of fire if it's something like a firefly or a beetle.
Right. Which actually I will go ahead and do right now. May as well. Actually, it's not ideal. But, no, we can do this. Do this. Go over here. We'll push you over. There we go. So this is the way to use the cryo launcher right now, where I get freed. The Vec will free me. My favorite is actually when this happens. When they line up, these rhinos, the Rhino Vec now, as we can appropriately call them, line up attacking where if I move, they're just going to hop into the water. It's really nice. It's one of my favorite things. What are we going to do, though? So this time we can do this. We can do the exact same thing again. Look at this. The exact same thing, right? I need to kill 7 enemies, though, so we need to get on this. We're not going to block Vex spawning because we need these guys to spawn. We really do. So we're just going to move out of the way. Normally I would block Vex spawning, but I kind of want to get as much reputation as possible. We only have 2 enemies down. 3, 4, 5, 6. We're not going to have enough. No, we will. We'll get 7. So we have to kill everybody now. Okay, we got Explodey Scion going on, which doesn't make me necessarily happy.
Yeah, I think this might be a mission where things are going to go slightly belly up, simply because you've got so many objectives still to complete.
What we can do is I can actually block, free this guy. So we'll do that. And then, if we do this, There we go. We'll get it next turn. That was... I feel very proud about that round right there. That makes me very happy with myself, especially because I can do this now. There we go, we got it. I didn't destroy the mountains, though. We can take care of that right now.
But you have enough actions to be able to do
I
it.
do.
That is... Man, those sort of missions where you just barely...
It's where you see something and you go, I'm just going to do it, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I'm like, I think the explosions, they're going to take themselves out enough. So that was... That one felt... And that's the thing about the game. That's what gets addictive. It's sort of like every time you play, you're pulling the lever on that, you know, the gambling machine, so to speak. And you're going, I want to get one of those where what I do feels amazing. Like, it just kind of that, the ending of Strafe Zone Beta there that we did. Can I admit something to you for the first time?
Go for
I
it.
never realized the regions were named. The life of a speedrunner, you never read things, even when you're playing through casually. You never take the time to realize that this one wasn't named Defend the Train, that this one wasn't named, that Rust Beach actually has a name called Rust Beach. That's really funny.
Yeah, there is actually a list in the game files that for each island that it'll pull from. It's still limited, but it's that little extra layer.
And they don't correspond to anything else around the layout of the mission, though. Because that's... Because that would have certainly come up in the strategy discussion around the game. Learn these things because they will help you with XYZ. No. Clearly that...
Yeah, sadly that's not the case. Though
was definitely not the case, yeah.
There was a discussion at one point in the Discord that, oh, this could be a thing. Why isn't this a thing?
Yeah, it certainly should be like, this is the layout of this one on this region. But that would have been, again, getting back to how many things you code into your game. Like, that's a lot of extra work with no payoff.
Yeah, and when you're a two-man team with contracting out other stuff, you have to pick your battles.
You do, it's true. Now, I don't think I can do enough damage to you. This is... How do I move you around? I can't. Oh, no, I can't quite get there. This is one of those really situations because I have no way of making you, even with your movement, if I had used you, 1, 2, 3, 4, could not have gotten there. I want to think about this for a second. Was there any way I could have gotten to this guy here? This scarab. I don't think there's any way I could have gotten to this scarab.
There is a way to mitigate. There is a way to prevent grid damage, though it might make things a little bit tricky for you in the following turn. Well, no. There is a way to There is a way to avoid grid damage in this turn with the equipment you got. While you mull that over, to reply to Yegid there, who said skull means bad. That was an elite type enemy.
Oh, there is. Yeah, you're right.
At the end of each island, you have a headquarter mission here, where you have to destroy a Vec hive leader as well as protect the corporate tower. And the whole point. Oh, that's not even the solution I was thinking of. Hey, that works.
So what solution were you thinking of specifically?
Cryo launcher on G6 to freeze the building.
Oh yes, you can freeze buildings. True, that's true. I forget about that one as well with the cryo launcher, but that's also a good thought. Yeah.
To reply to Yegit there, one of the nice things here, since Skip is using the colorblind mode, any of the alpha Vec, the sort of purpley color, have this double chevron next to them that also indicate that they're a stronger version of a normal Vec.
And I'll remove it for a second so you can see the difference here.
And then for the skull, that indicates it's a hive leader. And that hive leader it's an even more advanced version of an alpha Vec, does extra damage.
That you can't drown as well, which is really annoying in the final island. It's like, come on, I want to drown you. But I prefer it for a couple reasons. One is because, as you can see, I mean, this looks aesthetically nicer with the dark reds, it matches the tone of the game. But sometimes you miss that an area is under attack. Like you just, especially with a lot of things going on, especially if you get lava going on, like in the final island, as we'll see.
The higher contrast helps a ton.
The higher contrast helps, and if you ever get into speedrunning the game, being able to instantly see that's an alpha, that's a leader, and not have to go, is that a purple-hued guy? Like, I instantly know he has 2 HP, he has 4 HP. Like, I know immediately without having to mouse over them. So it's a nice thing.
Heck, I'm not colorblind, and I still prefer using colorblind mode in some games.
Mm-hmm. There we go. My guy's frozen. He'll stay there forever, right? That's how it works? No. They magically break out of the game, break out of the ice. So we'll spend reputation again. Let's see, what do we get? Passive buildings take shields. This is a nice one. If I didn't already have a passive sitting on my tank, I might take that one. Getting the ability to leap across buildings and push stuff away. I could redistribute the passive. I don't think so. Mechs will no longer take damage when blocking emerging Vec. I like this one a lot, especially for the final island. Self-destruct is really nice with hazardous mechs. I don't know, have you ever done that strategy, R30?
Yes, I have, and I've seen many people do it. One of the fun things with self-destruct. Okay, I've seen this happen once. It's never happened to me. It was one post that I saw on the Into the Breach subreddit. Is that if you can time it right and also be extremely lucky and time the self-destruct to the point that the pilot that uses the self-destruct also gets a level up, and that level up is +2 health. That +2 health undoes the death by the self-destruct.
That +2.
Because if they level up and get the extra health from that level up,
okay,
then that extra health, you get those 2. You're left with 2 health after dying.
Oh wow! So even if they don't have the passive on where killing someone, you have to be really lucky. That's definitely that is 100% Jaeged. That is YOLO strats in a nutshell. However, that is something with the way the game handles resets, which should be good because you know more of the technical what's actually happening behind the scenes than I do on this one. You can actually test it out if that would what your level up will be. Do a reset, and then do it again. So I mean, that's a small example of how you can use resets to your advantage. But I mean, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, with Into the Breach, as with any game that uses random generation, it's a pseudo-random number generation, meaning that the RNG is given a seed value that gets put in, does a little bit of math, and spits out both a new seed that'll get fed back into the random number generation, as well as a result that'll get used by the game. Because you have this fantastic reset mechanic, you can test a thing, say, purposefully damage a building. If it resists, then you can undo that, and you will know that the building will resist next time you attack it. It's rare that you're able to utilize that, but it's a tactic that you can still use.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think if there's any other roguelikes where you can get away with that sort of thing without doing something like save scumming.
Usually it's save scumming. I mean, we've actually discovered a few of those in Darkest Dungeon fairly recently, but it is utilizing when the save actually happens on the autosave, and so it's actually the reverse is true on that game, which will probably be a not too far distant future episode of RYSK, that if you, for example, are getting an affliction check, you can save out and it'll re-roll. It will not keep. Based on when you exit, it'll actually re-roll so you can get a different result. So But again, they try to tease that out so that it does not happen in roguelikes, is what's normally happening. It's not something they like to have happen.
But Dog One is Open makes a good point that it does kind of fit into the time traveling lore of the game, in a sense. You can, it's kind of like if you think if someone was going to use a time machine, someone probably would end up using it to win the lottery. You know, you go forward a day, you look at what the winning lottery number is, you go back in time, and oh, well, here's the numbers. And you can do something similar here. And time manipulating. It's both. I think it's both.
I always appreciate roguelikes where they build into the game the idea that of a reason why the game is being reset and played again. As opposed to just, well, you didn't win that time, so just try it again. You know? I really appreciate that aspect.
And it's rare. You don't see that often.
It's true. Man, this game is... First off, I have an alpha blobber. One of my least favorites in the game because the alpha blobber, as you can see, it fires off these little blobs that do 3 damage each. The normal blobbers, they're 1 damage, you can ignore them. But you can't, the 3 is hard to ignore. This is a tough...
You had a really good first turn, though, not gonna lie.
First turn worked okay. Now, you're doing 1 damage. I could use the cryo launcher from here. I don't really want to do that, though. You're going to be taken out, because that's not, again, he's a flying mech, but these are projectiles. Volcanic projectiles, so he'll die. I made the mistake of like, oh, he's flying over the top of the lava spot, and then, yeah, the guys can fly over the lava, so it's not a big deal. And I lost the game. What do we want to do here is the question. Do we want to come here?
I'm trying to parse all this.
I know, there's a lot. So I can almost, if I ignore ignore this little crab here. The crab's doing 1 grid damage. No big deal. Same, unfortunately, with the firefly here, doing 1 grid damage. No big deal. What I could do... I could move you here. If I did this, that would actually take care of the alpha blobber and then get the alpha blobber hit. I'd still be losing 3 grid damage right here, except the bump damage...
The bump damage there, that might be how you have to do that, I think.
Except I'm still losing 3 grid damage here.
How much move does
2 grid.
How much movement does your cannon mech?
He has just standard 3. I didn't upgrade. I only got movement upgrade on my prime.
Ah, I see. Okay. Trying to think if you had any other power up. You do have the damage upgrade on that though, right?
On yes, I do.
Okay, so I think if you do the bump damage with your artillery mech off of starting from C7 shooting to C4 and then use the cannon mech to get rid of the crab, you can then push with your your combat mech to move that scorpion out of the way.
Yep, you're right. I almost had it. I was doing the wrong order. Yeah, because then if I do combat mech, actually, I won't get bump damage. Yep, you're right. There we go. Group think here. Group think. I almost had these guys flipped in the reverse order.
And to quote one of the pilots that you can unlock in the game, Harold Schmidt, it's like a big gigantic game of chess, isn't it?
It very much is.
And you can tell, I mean, it's not an 8x8 grid for nothing, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's very true. I suppose I hadn't thought about the fact that it's 8x8. That's, things you don't think about, you know. Right. You I have to get rid of again because you're being annoying. What's my turn order here? So... he's annoying because he'll do damage to everybody. This is not as nice as some first rounds that I've had. almost have to use you to take you out, or I sacrifice those. I can't do that. Alright, we're going to do that. We'll tank damage here. We'll do that. We have to... Yeah. So we're going to deal with the Alpha Blobber yet one more turn, unfortunately. Everyone gather around. Let me tell you a tale. Wow. Okay. Who's doing what now? You're at... It's funny. They're going to destroy their own. You're done. I don't have to worry about you because you're landing on that tile. You're doing bad damage. Let's see here. I can't move. That would take care of the blobber, at least. So we could do that, which will free a path through here for that. And then... doesn't quite take everything out. But that's okay. We're gonna lose one more. Unless we resist, which we could. I had freeze, but there was really no good way I could... because I couldn't get away to use freeze on that one. Oh. I didn't really see he was attacking that direction. All that purple, I didn't really see which way he was attacking. It's a way to save my own mech. Well, no, I had to use that, his attack, in order to... Yeah. Suppose I could have frozen and frozen. Either way.
Good thing is that as the mech falls down... Oh, it's fixed now.
That is the one part of the game that kind of annoys me. That when they fall... they fix the disabled mechs somehow and install the AI. Get restored to full health. No big deal. No big deal.
Think of it as a second win. I mean, from a gameplay, in this case, you kind of have to.
You have to basically say, you know what? This was a gameplay decision, not necessarily a. I don't know what else decision it would be. It was.
Gameplay has to trump the story in this case.
All right. Now, one thing I am always looking for on the first round of Phase 2 is these spawn points. If there's ever a time you want to prioritize getting to a spawn point, it's right now. The reason is because on turn 2 of the final phase, wherever your mechs are standing will become an environmental that will reach up and grab that space. So if you stand on the spawn points, you suck up 3 spawn points if you can stand on all of them. And then you get a cakewalk through the rest of Phase 2. It's actually really kind of nice. It would be... Oh, that would be really tough. Good from Dog 1. It would be cool if when you play on hard mode, then it wouldn't fix your mechs. That'd be an interesting, like, optional toggle, like, extra hard mode. Or, like... That would be a different...
What's interesting is that at one point in the game's development, they did have some sort of, like, the mechs have a limited amount of health across a full game. Like, you had to repair them between missions or something like that, whereas now it's, oh, they're just magically fixed now between missions.
Yeah.
And it's that question of how do you balance the different parts. There's a limit to...
That was a bad choice. I needed to move him out of the way. What you gonna do? We're living on the edge here. Maybe a resist? Nah, no resist.
Grid.
2 grid.
2 grid's enough, right?
If I'm not surviving with 1 grid... Wait, why did he not break out? Oh! My own passive just destroyed me. This is, again, it's a game of chess, people. It's a game of chess. So if you don't...
That is fantastic.
I have never... And I'm going to say the cliche, that's never happened to me before. On Ralph's mech here, if you look under here, he has a passive. Mechs no longer take damage when blocking emerging mech. Vec, I forgot about that when I'm like, I could stand here, use the cryo, because I'll get broken out.
And
Now,
it's those synergies that work so well. I love that.
it's the synergy that I didn't actually want to have, because especially I now lose this mech.
It's a disenergy.
It's, I mean, nothing I can do about it. That mech, he's toast. And actually, so is the run is completely ripped right now. There's no way. I mean, I got to get a lot of luck right now because I'm getting 3, 3, and 2. So I have 2 grid remaining.
I love that.
That's so amazing.
That's something that Subset Games, even in FTL, has done. And I'm assuming that FTL is going to be a game that we cover on the RYSK at some point.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things that I love about Subset Games is that the systems are where things really fit together. Like in FTL, the systems in that game fit so well, and it's so much the same here in Into the Breach.
Yeah. I mean, every time, like in the Discord, which I highly recommend. Actually, if you want to drop a link to the Discord in the chat, I'll let you know you can do that. I'm actually going to switch over to this different game file. Slip over my hard mode. I can't use my skip profile anymore because that's in the middle of a weird timeline, which, hey, if you want to talk about that, we could plug some of the parallel timeline stuff too.
I can try to, certainly.
That's a whole different way of playing the game. Let's go new game on hard mode. But there's actually a whole discussion in there's a whole modding community of Into the Breach. What's Rogue HQ? I was talking more about the Into the Breach Discord.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, join Rogue HQ while you're at it. So we'll talk about the squads here in just a second. But they're always talking. There's discussions on like what weapons could you have. Actually, this was a weekly discussion point at one point, I think too. Like what weapon modification, what one weapon would you add to the game? And it always feels like there's never a good balance between the strength and the weaknesses compared to the weapons that are already out there. Like you think about things like the laser on Zenith Guard. You're plowing right, it's easy ability to destroy grid or your own mechs while using it, versus, but it's got the raw power, which actually I'll go ahead and play around with Zenith Guard. We'll go and take a look at some of the other stuff. Now I've got everything unlocked. If you didn't like spoilers, you shouldn't have been watching something that explains a game in detail like this. Really just, come on, what were you thinking? So we're going to grab, actually no, I'm going to grab Abe here, put Abe in the charge mech. Or, yeah, put Abe in the charge mech. So now we can play some other islands too. Let's go check out Detrius Disposal. We hope you and the Zenith Guard can aid us in our fight as well. I think they're the most distant future from now.
So, Dog 1 is open with the FTL pilots. Again, spoiler warning.
Oh,
My
spoiler.
apologies there.
Yeah. Oops.
So, that is actually a bug that I've seen as well in Into the Breach, is that when you're changing from one file that doesn't have the FTL pilots unlocked, and going to another file with the FTL pilots unlocked, they don't show up in the pilot selection screen for some reason.
Well, there's also other things that I've been doing to the files and messing it around, and I think the game is completely confused with my profiles right now. It's
a little bit. The fact that one of them's named literally profile_skip when it's not supposed to be that way.
No, I actually have to remove that one in order to have skip show up, and then I can play it, but the next time I go in, it reverts back to profile_skip. I've done something wrong with how I've loaded the file in.
I'm gonna have to talk with you after that, because as an explanation for why that's a problem.
Yeah. It is what it works for right now, but I'm like, because when I create it, it creates a backup. It creates profile_skip.
Oh no.
And that's not what's supposed to be happening. But it's an empty file, but it uses the original file name. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here, but it's clearly...
Maybe afterwards I'll have to step you through that. So, as an explanation, that's a minor plug, I suppose. There are a few of us Into the Breach content creators that are doing a Into the Breach Succession game, where the mechs get shuffled around at the end of each island, which is a lot of fun. It's a unique way to play the game slightly differently from the norm, so to speak. Though, because it involves some save file editing, some shenanigans do occur.
A safe way of putting it, shenanigans, yes. Make sure I'm doing this right before I just YOLO it in. Bad spot for the... I mean, they were lined up nicely before. What we can do is... See, this guy is the bane of my existence right now. We go in, knock you out. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and knock you out. That's fine. We're gonna be able to do that. And now I have to pick. Who don't I like? Who don't I like? I don't like you. Actually, I have a shield. I can't deploy the shield on everything, though. What you gonna do? We'll take a little bit of citizenry loss again. Probably was a better way around that one, but... yeah, so as you can see, these guys, there's not as much movement as brute force with these guys here. What do I want to do, though? Here's the question, though. Do I want to move? I do want to move. Who wants to get attacked? You? Sure.
What are some of the fun synergies either one of you have experienced? Ooh,
fun synergies.
I mean, there's the cliche one where a shielded pilot with an ice, you know, with a cryo launcher. But so, I think everyone kind of starts to realize that one is like, wait a second.
So I'm actually going to go back and, you know, since you guys have all seen some of the game, we'll actually go through a couple of those things. But yeah, for example, one of them is... there's actually one that I like, so I'll show you that one first. So we're going to change Time Traveler. We'll grow... here they are. So they showed up again. So we don't completely just... let's spoil it. We'll grab Bethany. We'll change squad. We'll go to Frozen Titans. Put Bethany in the Frost Mech. This one is the one that is probably the best one that everyone...
also the most overpowered.
Most overpowered one. This is the reason... like, if you're running Frost, this is what you do. She's got a shield to start every mission. The nice thing is... she doesn't lose said shield. Or she doesn't... she doesn't lose said shield, but she can also do this. Look. Oh, she can't get frosted. What you gonna do? So that's... you know, that is the most... I made a mistake. But that's sort of the easiest one. There's another one that I really like. That's sort of, if you think about a pilot perspective, I'm going to have to hack in here to get a little bit of... see, what is the console command for...
let me quickly get that
to get myself
so
more grid. Yeah, I always have to look it up. If you want to access the console and cheat your way to victory, hit the tilde and, you know, look it up online. You can type anything you want.
Very useful when you're debugging mods, which we'll discuss in a moment if there's time.
Or when you're doing tutorials and you want to show what every weapon in the game is. That's kind of how I did that one. I went and just loaded all of the weapons into my inventory. It was a little tedious, but it's something I did.
Just typing in, I think the word rich will just get you a bunch of...
you are rich.
Yeah, that just gives you a bunch of cores and reputation.
I think I'm good now. So, this here, double shot. Double shot, build on silica with building chain and electric whip. Okay? This is fun and dangerous at the same time. I'll show you what I mean. So, Silica's secret power is that if she doesn't move and you have it powered up, she can attack twice. To show this off, I'm actually going to drop a boulder right here. Right? So now let's just do this. Oh, in fact, let's do it again. Cleared the board. Like, the thing is, it chains through everything. So if they had been attached, if someone had been connected to the Renfield bombs, would have blown that up. If they'd been chained to my own mechs, they would have blown that up. So it's a really fun synergy, but also not a smart synergy. Like right now, you know, if I was to do like, oh, okay, I want to bring, say, Silica over, but fortunately I can do. Thing is, it's not powerful enough to completely take everything out, and because she moved, that didn't work. So you have to be able to, what you might be thinking right here is, well, what I'm going to do is simply, you know, move her over this way, and then chain twice. Well, except for the fact that, for one, she's got 5 attack power, and 2, that would then take this pilot out as well. So there's a lot of ways that you can get into trouble with this one, but that's a fun synergy.
And speaking of synergies, it's rare that you end up getting synergies between mechs. It depends on the squad and the equipment that you have. But even with the Blitzkrieg squad, using that hook mech to pull stuff into the chain from the mech, and that's the thing, is that the hook mech starts with armor, so it's able to survive a hit or two.
It's kind of intentionally, I think, done that way with the armor, but at the same time, it's, you know, if you're using Silica, and especially if you've then got the chain, if you got it not only lightning chain through buildings, but also +1 damage, you know, you're doing a lot of damage to yourself. Flame Behemoths has a fun synergy with the purpose of the fact that you can stand in fire, that you can set an entire map basically on fire, and it basically, especially on easy or normal, it turns everything into you just kind of clear the board pretty easily once things are on fire, which is actually a fun thing to have, because Flame Behemoths, this passive thing, all mechs are immune to fire. There is a leader, the leader beetle, Rhino Beetle. When he passes over land, he sets it all on fire. So he's actually working for you to help set stuff on fire, which is kind of a fun thing.
Also, best way to deal with spiders.
Oh, the spiders. Yes, absolutely. One that I mentioned before, there is a weapon that's called self-destruct. And when you use the self-destruct, it kills anything adjacent to you. There is this passive that's on these hazardous mechs, where when you kill something, you repair. So you can actually say, drop the self-destruct on the unstable mech. As long as he kills at least one mech, he'll stay alive. In fact, if there's a pilot in the unstable mech, the pilot, even though they temporarily go disabled, the pilot stays alive, which is really nice.
Do we want to showcase that? Let me see if I can remember how to
get
a weapon to...
I've done it before. It's like something _ weapon. Like, you have the weapon type _ and then the name of it. So I just need to know what the official name is there somewhere. We can
find that.
It's kind of fun. It's kind of a fun one.
Support _destruct.
There we go.
Pretty simple in that case.
Oops, let's spell support right. Is it weapon?
Yeah, it starts with weapon, then support _destruct.
Nothing with that name found. The support.
I think it's capital S, capital D, if I'm...
Oh, right.
Yeah.
There we go. We got it. Yeah.
There is a pretty good modding community for Into the Breach at this point now, where we've gotten used to using the console to test this sort of stuff. What's a bit of interesting trivia with the mod loader for the Into the Breach modding community is it actually is based off, because the game underneath uses Lua scripting to keep track of the different stuff that's going on. I'll let you showcase the self-destruct, then I'll continue, sorry.
No, it's all good. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be using it right here. Honestly, if I was doing... If this was a real run, you know, I'll show it on the next one so we can show it in its real application uses here.
Alright, that's fair.
Yeah, just because...
But what's really interesting is that because the game uses Lua scripting underneath to keep track of all of the different things that the mechs are able to do and otherwise, they were actually able to get a mod loader working for the game relatively early on, shortly after the game was released, and it was actually based off of the mod loader for another roguelike game, Invisible Ink.
Yeah, so here's self-destruct. Now, I intentionally went over here on purpose because it will destroy anything on adjacent tiles, so it's going to actually take out my grid. So that's where, again, they try to make it so it's reasonably powerful. But I'm just going to come here. I'll do it here. We'll take this guy out. Came back to life. You can see came back to life with 1 HP because he only killed 1. If say he had been surrounded by them, he would have taken out both. But the Fox Kim here is still alive and still actually gets the experience for the kill as well, which is really nice. So it's good. That's a fun synergy for sure.
And that only really synergizes here with the hazardous mechs because you have that Viscera Nanobots passive on the Nano Mech, which that's what this entire squad is built around, is kill a thing. Yeah, you're injuring yourself in the process, but you can kind of hold on with just a sliver of health by those deaths happening.
Right. Another fun synergy that I like is actually built into the Rusting Hulks. For the longest time, they were my favorite. They still remain actually pretty high for me. They have possibly the worst mech in the entire game, the Pulse Mech.
I like Pulse Mech.
You do? Why do you like Pulse Mech?
Because it's a science mech, and I'm a crazy guy that has done a triple science mech custom squad run.
Really? Oh, I mean,
love those.
I like Pulse Mech with Kazakh, but that's a whole different story.
I mean, Pulse, any combination of the science mechs, save maybe the gravity mech, the amount of displacement, it takes the stuff that you learned from the Riftwalkers to another extreme by using all that displacement.
That's very true.
I need to do a triple Pulse Mech run.
Triple Pulse Mech. Now there's a fun meta run for you right there. But again, I like this one because, you know, you have the fact that Rocket Mech itself will, as you can see in the attack... by the way, I absolutely love the fact that when you're on the selection screen, it gives you a little animation. It's simple, yet at the same time, it's like, oh, I see exactly what's going on. So as you can see...
Those tip images are so awesome that they are in the game. It helps a ton with that sort of stuff.
It's brilliant. It's sort of like the reverse Binding of Isaac. Like Binding of Isaac, like, I hope you understand the quick tooltip that popped up. Otherwise, you have to look on the wiki. So this, it's like, okay, we see it's going to be shooting smoke out the backside. And by the way, that smoke will passive 1 damage. Oh, and the jet mech shoots smoke, which will then do more damage. So this is a great natural synergy that has come to bite you. Like, you get used to the fact that, oh, your jet mech's going to do 1 damage when it fires, but then it'll be doing smoke that's electric. When you get into doing things like doing random squad runs, and you roll and you pick up the jet mech, you're like, sweet, the jet mech does tons of damage. Oh no, wait, it doesn't. And now you've laid down tons of smoke that's just blocking you from attacking next time. So that's something that can, a great synergy on one hand that can lead to a little bit of overconfidence, which, as I've heard, is a slow and insidious killer.
But one of the other big things with the Rusting Hulks, and part of the reason why they can be so very strong, is that there's like 6 different weapons that put smoke on the board, and when all of that smoke is doing extra damage, then yeah, it helps a lot.
I've actually my favorite thing to do when I'm doing Rusting Hulks is to take the Pulse Mech and turn it into a crop duster, where you get that attack where you can jump, and then you expand it so he can jump 3 long, and he's just, you know, you have both the jet mech and the Pulse Mech just dropping smoke everywhere, and it's just like, well, nobody else can attack but me, because I normally, when I take these guys, I will make sure to put Camilla in something, so that, you know, at least one of my mechs doesn't have to worry about being in smoke, and then we put smoke everywhere. It's great. So.
Dog1 is open asked, is there a mod where there is no ending and instead you just keep replaying islands? I don't think yet that there is an endless mode in the same way that FTL has an endless mode mod.
I have heard people mention that it's something they want to do, so I wouldn't put it past the community to eventually do it. I mean, keep in mind this game came out last February, so it's only been out for 14 months. So the modding
and the fact
community...
that we have mods at all is actually a big thing. Like that, we almost had it from day one with that preliminary mod loader that one of the members of the community ended up putting in, based off of the Invisible Link mod loader. I'm trying to think of how that would even work, because it could be possible. It's just I'm trying to think of, because one thing that I would love as a mod is something like a daily run sort of thing, like those, like, you know, like a daily chess puzzle in a way.
That where the at least where the islands and the Vec that are going to show up on those islands are locked in. I mean, obviously the AI will do its own thing based on where you go.
Or even if it's just a single puzzle, like a single, like a mate in two sort of style puzzle that you would see for like chess puzzles.
Oh, sure. Where there is one solution that will be the perfect island, and everything else is just utter destruction.
In a way, yeah. But it's just like trying to come up with how that would work. That takes effort. That takes someone digging through the code and figuring out how that would go. And that's one of the other big things with Into the Breach is that, although, yeah, maybe it might not have the same replayability that FTL does, the flexibility on the modding side is so much more just like mind-blowing how much more flexibility there is. And there's a lot of flexibility already in FTL with the modding community there.
There is, yeah.
With Into the Breach, it's a whole different matter. Just how much more flexible it is with the Lua scripting.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything else? I mean, I think the answer being the synergies perspective, I'm trying to think of the other optional weapons that you pick up during the course of a run. A lot of weapons have their own synergy types, I should say. It really depends on what you're moving for. Like the one that I picked up, that one passive that has to do with enemies bumping into each other. Obviously, the more weapons you can get that have to do with bumping and pushing and moving, the better they're going to do. There are other weapons that have to do more with just straight up canceling or redirecting enemy attacks. So, I mean, it's all based upon just like any good. It almost feels in that essence, the weapons, when you focus on weapons and what's happening at the end of each round, it's almost like a quote-unquote deck builder. Like you're equipping what's being given to you and deciding if that's worth it. Like, there was one time I was in the Frozen Titans and I picked up two more. I picked up one other frost cannon, which I used the extra core to put into the what are they called? The mirror mech, and then I got the like area frost weapon that I put in the Aegis mech, and just basically was like, we're just gonna freeze everything and just deal with it. And so it's just a matter of, every time you play, you get to have a little bit different thing happening to you. So,
and I think that from what I understand with Into the Breach, there's kind of similar to what Dog1 is open in the chat mentioned a little while ago, is that you kind of have almost every single weapon in the game can deal with an enemy Vec. It's almost like one mech can usually take care of one Vec, unless you have a certain type of weapon where you can do sort of a 2-for-1. And that's, I think, that's sort of, I'm trying to think of a way to phrase it. Because I don't know if you'll see a lot of like inter-mech, like one mech plays off of another mech, unless you play with any sort of modded squads. But the fact that most everything can deal with most everything, like on a one-on-one basis, says a lot with how balanced the game is. You can win with pretty much any squad that you get from a random roll or a custom selection.
Usually. The time that I got double jet mech on a chaos roll once. That was tough. I forget what the third one was, that it really didn't matter at that point. There just wasn't the firepower to deal with anything. I mean, one thing I do like doing is doing what I'm doing now, which is just, go in and just see what you get around chaos roll, see if it's a combination you've thought of before, and see if you can find a way to win with them. It makes for a fun challenge, so to speak.
And it might take a couple of attempts. That's the other big thing, is that I know that there's one person, at least, probably a few others, that have been able to pull off a run with 3 gravity mechs, which... Gravity mech, which is the third mech here with the bug guy piloting it.
Yeah,
it's one of the weakest mechs.
He is. And I said before, Pulse the worst. I'd forgotten about Gravity Mech, how terrible he was until I did this roll. I'm like, nope, yep, you're absolutely right. Don't know what I was thinking. This guy's much worse. Much
the big thing there is that someone's been able to pull off a victory with 3 gravity mechs without losing any grid. And mind you, it probably took him a couple of attempts. I think that says a lot with how well balanced the game is that there's very rarely any unwinnable scenario. Any squad can make it. You're going to struggle, but almost any squad can make it.
Yeah, you can find a way. That's for sure. You may have. I mean, what's funny here is I'm actually using the gravity mech for the way he's designed, which that's not normally the way things roll with the gravity mech.
Using a mech for what it's designed to do.
I know, seriously. When you've got Kazak in there, Kazak's like, what are these weapons? I'm not going to use the weapon. For those of you who don't know, Kazak, if you repair with Kazak, he does 2 melee damage. That's the reason why you use him. So basically, you stick Kazak in a mech that you really, when you need more firepower. And it's one of those ways. It feels like cheesing the game at times, but it's a fun part here. So, anyways, I think that's, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'm not going to sit here just kind of doing the whole rest of this run, but I think for the purpose of the RYSK episode, I think that's all at least I wanted to cover, unless you had anything else you specifically thought would be kind of cool to talk about.
We pretty much covered everything, I think, that we should know about Into the Breach.
Yes. From a reason why you should know this roguelike, I think, hopefully, anyone watching either now or later, hopefully you agree this is a roguelike you should know. I would hope so.
And I think a lot of people agree with you there, because this game's gotten so many good awards over the last year that it's just awesome.
Yes, agreed.
And well deserved.
Didn't do this one right. That's okay. We can do. Oh, never mind. There's always a solution. Dunk them in the water, they say. Anyways, so yeah, thanks everyone for being here. Again, next episode, I don't know when it's going to be. It'll be sometime soon. I think eventually we'll get to the point where we'll plan these out a little bit more and kind of have an actual schedule of when these will actually be coming out. But for now, it's just sort of like, hey, we got a free evening. Let's go talk about this game for a while. So thanks again, R30, for being here. I appreciate you hopping in while you're getting your dinner, I think.
Glad I was able to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Always more fun with more people talking than just me. So, appreciate you guys being here, guys, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.